Today we're taking apples and apple juice to ferment it and make it into not one, but two alcoholic drinks, applejack and apple brandy. And because every YouTube video needs a ridiculous premise these days, Emmett is championing the applejack and I'm rooting for the brandy. Charlie's here to keep the peace.
There's only one way to solve this.
Referee, and of course sneak some honey into the mix. With all our shopping done, it's time to get the apples crushed, and we're going to do that directly into the fermenters because we're going to ferment on fruit and strain later on.
You should probably take the stickers off, huh? I mean...
Hey, we know where our standards are.
Honestly, we were a little rip, tear, and bust for the recipe.
By the way.
But I'm pretty sure we used right around 10 kilos of apples, a mix of Granny Smith, Red Delicious, and New Zealand Queen.
This is a nice apple crusher. What do you call this thing?
I don't know what it's really called. I just call it the mangulator.
I like that name.
Obviously, the mangulator makes this a whole lot easier, but you don't need one. You could do this with a knife, a grater, or a food processor if you had to. Now it's time to get the apple juice into the fermenter as well.
All right, you ready? Cheers. Cheers. Cheers.
We're using apple juice as our liquid to free things up and make fermentation a little easier, while still adding more apple flavor, more sugar to make more alcohol.
Oh, we forgot about the post-apple crushing beer.
The post-apple crushing. The most important part. Let me, yeah.
Beers in hand, we took a quick break to answer a few live stream questions, then got back to tipping apple juice into the fermenter. We used 10 bottles all up for a total of 24 litres. It was tasting pretty amazing, but unfortunately the gravity was a bit low. Charlie had the awesome idea of using honey to bump the total sugars up.
That's nice. Yeah. Chunky boy.
This should hopefully bring us around 70 to 80.
The honey did indeed bring the original gravity up to 1.078. Time for nutrients and yeast. We used 30 grams of a wine nutrient in each bucket, or 60 grams in total. We settled on K1V1116 for the yeast, in part because it's just a solid workhorse and gets the job done, partially because Charlie includes them in some of his mead kits, and we had some on hand. In case you hadn't noticed, we split the batch into 2 fermenters to ensure enough headroom. And apparently, 2 buckets is all it takes to discover who the big man on campus is. Yeah! Put in our place, Charlie and I got the fermenters ready to chill for a few days. Unfortunately, we were on a fairly tight schedule, so we fermented hot and fast for 4 days. The must didn't ferment out completely dry, but it did get pretty dang close, clocking in just under 10% ABV. Now it's time to split the batch between brandy and applejack. Using an auto siphon, we stole just over a gallon, or about 4.5 litres, to put into the freezer overnight and freeze solid. This is going to be the applejack. The rest will be turned into apple brandy. The wash, or must, is looking super tasty, but it's way too chunky to put straight into the still like this. We use Clawhammer's largest mash tun as a strainer to keep the liquid and ditch the solids. Both fermenters go in, open up the ball valve at the bottom, and drain directly into the still. A potato masher got a little extra liquid out, but something like a fruit press would be ideal here. That left us with right around 5 gallons or 20 litres in the still. Emmett was kind enough to get the still built and the power turned on.
Yeah, awesome. So we've got the wash in the still, it's heating up. We're ready for distillation. We can finally find out what is better, applejack or apple brandy. Right. Side by side, same wash.
Yeah, pretty exciting.
You're going down, dude.
But no, I mean, I think we got a chance because we're going to have more sweetness in the applejack.
Very true.
In terms of the competition between applejack and apple brandy, I can't wait to see how the honey compares in those, because I would imagine that the applejack isn't quite dry yet.
And your stills, they come with you have a couple different configurations, and by default it comes with 3 plates. So basically, you decide to use 2 because 3 might be a little too much.
Yeah, so this is the all-rounder still, and it comes with 1 extra plate plus a column.
Okay.
Which you would use if you're trying to make vodka and go 95% beginning to end.
Strip every flavor out.
Yeah, real neutral sort of stuff. We're going for what is more like double pot distillation. So we didn't have enough volume to do stripping runs and then fill the pot back up again.
Right.
If you run the wash straight into the pot with 2 plates, that's maybe a little bit cleaner than double pot distillation, but it's a good approximation.
And then you can do it with less volume because you don't need to do a stripping run and that final run. So save some time.
Hey, guess what? Into the AM have an absolutely huge 4th of July sale on right now, up to 60% off, I believe. And if you use the link in the description down below, I think you get an extra 10% off, which is pretty freaking awesome. But why am I telling you about this in a filthy hoodie for a summer sale? First, I live down in New Zealand and it's freaking cold down here right now. Second, I just wear this stuff all the time because I absolutely love it. Today I have been cooking, eating, cutting wood, and crushing grain. So that's why I'm absolutely filthy. Seriously, Into the AM make really, really good products. I love it. I wear it all the time. Personally, I think they're probably best known for their really cool graphic tees, and I think a bunch of their new release stuff is on sale right now as well. So if you're interested, if you want to pick up some of the cool graphic tees you see me wearing, or one of my favorites is just the kind of incognito black shirt, now is the time to pounce. Use the link in the description down below. Get the extra 10% off the awesome sale they're already having.
So how do we go from here to actually product coming out? What's the next step? Do we turn the water down on this, turn the heat up on this, or a combination? I know it's a little dance.
Yeah, it's kind of a balancing act, and both are correct.
Okay.
I guess the only limitations is I never like to run anything at full max or full minimum.
Gotcha.
And the reason for that is if you've got the water turned down to the point where you've got no resolution to turn it down more, you can't turn it down
Then
more.
you're stuck.
The only other thing to kind of take into account with that is that you always need to keep the plates loaded.
Yeah.
You don't want to flood them. You don't want to put so much reflux down here that they start filling up. These plates are tuned really freaking well. I literally tried to flood them the other day.
It's tough.
Couldn't do it.
Yeah.
You also don't want them to dry up. So if they start drying up, it means that you're not sending enough of the vapor coming up back down. And that'll mean that you'll get to a point where suddenly the plate dries up and it's doing nothing.
Yeah.
So your ABV will be trucking along at 80%. And then just go bang
Right
down
off
to
the cliff.
60. Yeah, and you'll run into all sorts of
Okay.
problems. Charlie, can you bump that power down, up to about 68? Yep. And then just press the set button to lock it in.
Boom.
Perfect.
And then we tweak the reflux condenser flow down a little bit and turn the product condenser on. Be aware it's probably going to be different every time you run the still. It might look like this though. With the adjustments made, we're going to start getting drips out of the spout. If you've been watching these videos and you're considering getting some equipment of your own, now is the time to do it because we've got a 4th of July sale running as well. Sorry team, this equipment is only available from our American warehouse for now. Sorry, we're working on it, but absolutely everything on store is part of that sale. ChaseTheCraft.com, you can check it out there.
So I'm getting like a strong turpentine smell. Like it smells like legit paint thinner.
Yeah, man. This is kind of classic heads in my mind.
Yeah.
Like you wouldn't want to drink that, right?
No, not at all.
Yeah.
Like obviously 4 shots matter, but I feel like sometimes people might overthink it because early heads are garbage too. So like, why are you so concerned about how much you're collecting the force? Because you don't want any of the first of the heads either. So it's like one of those things where people freak out over it, but it's like you don't want any of that garbage at the beginning of the run. So do you kind of feel that way too, or?
Completely, dude.
Okay.
Yeah, I've got a video saying something like 4 shots don't matter.
Right.
And people start watching it and getting pissed off at me, but that's the point of the video is this stuff's terrible.
Right.
The stuff right after it is
It's just as terrible.
if I'm doing a good job of making cuts by taste, it's just as terrible.
Yeah.
So you can probably go ahead and switch that
Oh, yeah.
jar out, Charlie. So we'll call this 4 shots. It'll go in the 4 shots container.
Right.
I'll use it for lighting fires,
Cleaning.
cleaning. It's great for cleaning sticky goop off the stills, actually. But the thing is, like whether we took half this amount or double this amount of 4 shots, I'm not going to drink this anyway, right? It's still trashy. Like it's not magically better.
So we ditched the 4 shots and collected cuts into separate vessels to assess later. We collected into larger jars when we were pretty certain we were in hearts, When we weren't so sure about heads or tails, we used smaller glasses. Hey, did you forget about the freeze distilled applejack? Well, we pulled it out of the freezer and set it in the sun for a while to start thawing. Then opened the tap up and collected the liquid that melted first. You can be a little more sophisticated about it, but this will raise the proof essentially by removing the water, aka ice. Back to making decisions on our cuts from the distilled brandy.
This, we're going with definite hearts.
Hearts.
This, definite hearts. Now the big question is, what do we think, fellas? So, have a smell of that, dude. See, that's like way fresher apple.
Yeah.
But then have
This is almost like green apple.
right? It's like it's somehow almost tart and bright without having that in it.
Same with the taste too, yeah.
Yeah. But it's a little bit more prickly.
I would
think we
give
should
that one a
keep
thumbs
that.
up. Yeah.
That brings a little fun to the party.
I meant like Gladiator. It's gotta be like,
Yeah.
I also brought
that one in
the
there,
party because I'm not trash.
this one's more like oxidized apples.
Yeah. And that's, I'm going to say full heads. We don't want that.
Ooh, yeah. You immediately get that.
It's like a totally different thing, eh? Which is crazy. That much liquid and it's totally different.
And I guess theoretically you could always redistill that, right?
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey,
Look at this guy.
look at this guy.
Add it to the low lines if we had some.
Oh!
Low wines. This is what happens when you ask questions.
More so when
Is that even this video? I don't know.
No, it's the other video. It's
more so when you retain information, I think. Yeah, so people don't know, like when you proof down your spirits, even though you have delicious heads in there, you don't want to proof down, even though you have delicious hearts in there, you don't necessarily want to proof down A, very quickly, and B, you also don't really want to drink it right away. You want it to kind of let it get back together and hang out and be friends again. And you should probably store it like open like this.
no. No. Funny joke, sir.
Hey, but you really, in all honesty, you should put it in the bottle, put a lid on it, close it up. Yeah.
Yep.
So the alcohol will fly away.
Yes. Angels be thirsty.
I would say the only thing that this is really missing is some of those tannins and smokiness from oak, but it doesn't really seem like this is enough volume to actually put in like an oak barrel. If I wanted to age on oak, how exactly would I do that?
Yeah, totally, dude. I would put it in a swing top jar or a mason jar, something that's safe to store high proof spirits in long term, and then use a oak stave instead. So we have these guys that come in a 5-pack and a 2-pack. You can get the stuff kiln dried. It's just never, I don't know, man. I don't think it's the same.
It's hard to replicate aged wood. This is the freeze dried.
Freeze distilled.
Freeze dried. This is freeze dried.
It's powdered.
Freeze distilled.
As you can tell, there's no liquid in here.
It's actually really good. Charlie, can you give me a little back sweetening?
Yeah, man. I got you.
Hell yeah.
About a teaspoon or so here. Which isn't a lot, but for things like this, especially with apple, you usually don't need a lot. This is Kamahi honey from New Zealand, from Dave's Bees. This stuff is super high quality. This isn't just corn syrup from the store shelf. So Emmett's got maybe a slight advantage in terms of the quality going into this. Yeah, for my taste, I think that was the perfect amount. I don't want to go much sweeter and sort of distract from the other notes. I think this is just enough sweetness to help complement the vibrancy of the apples and the honey that was originally present.
All right, Emmett, it has all come down to this. We've got Charlie in between us just in case this turns into fisticuffs. Jacked apple, applejack, you may call it, versus distilled apple brandy. Now we get to find out who is the victor.
I'm excited.
Me too,
I
dude.
feel like I win either way.
Which are we drinking first, Emmett?
I think if we drink mine first, it's going to give yours advantage because it's going to give a little sweetness.
I was going to say we shouldn't drink mine first because mouth presence will be blown out. We won't be able to taste yours.
That is dumb.
What?
You are
Guys,
dumb.
hey, there's only one way to solve this. Rock, paper, scissors.
All right.
Rock, paper, scissors, shoot. Suck it. What did I say I wanted to do
He played
first?
mind games. He played mind games with me, man. Are we doing this one first?
We're doing this first? Is that what I wanted to do? All right.
Yeah.
One sip, everyone knows the rules.
Like,
One sip.
yeah. All right. Are we allowed to sniff first, Ref?
You get 2 sniffs.
Two sniffs.
Cheers, buddy.
Cheers.
All right. So 2 sniffs, is it? Oh.
Got better.
Dude, this is actually way closer than I thought it would be.
First of all, congratulations. You both put up a valiant effort, and this is a remarkable show of sportsmanship.
Thank you. Can you say you've come a long way again, too?
We've come a long way here together.
It was
Especially you, Emmett.
It was a long trip. New Zealand is far away.
The brandy is really interesting because the honey shows through a lot on the nose, actually, but surprisingly not a lot in the taste. I get crisp apples, sort of a vibrant, like green apple tartness to it. That's actually quite pleasant. Then we have the applejack. The applejack is really, it's interesting because you can tell it had a fermentation where the conditions weren't necessarily well controlled. I get a little bit of sulfur on the nose, which is usually a sign of yeast stress. But that said, with the back sweetening, it sort of helps mask that and elevate those other apple notes that were otherwise lacking before, since it was totally dry. So overall, ladies and gentlemen, it's a tough decision, it really is, but I'm gonna have to go with the brandy.
Well played, Emmett.
I'm pretty stoked because it was a simple distillation, one and done, applejack, that was the same fermented hot and fast, but it smells quite delicious now that Charlie back sweetened it.
And to be fair, we fermented this like we were going to distill it.
Yeah,
Do you know what I mean?
100%. It's not ideal for a nice sipping mead.
When you're using a mead, you have to be a little more careful, and I guess you have to have a little more finesse with nutrient feeding, temperature control, even the yeast you use.
Does this smell slightly like a saison to you?
Yes,
What's a saison?
Like a farmyard beer?
that is the exact smell I was getting from like the hot ferment.
And now that I've got it in my head that it's a saison, I don't mind that smell nearly as much.
Have you ever tried buckwheat honey?
I have not, no, dude.
A lot of the times it's described in that similar barnyard way, and there's people that love that.
I love
it in the saison.
Yeah.
for a 3-day ferment, a little bit of back sweetening. That's better than some meads I've had.
It's exceeded expectations by a long way.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, so the applejack, the freeze distilled applejack blew my mind, and I had zero expectations. I thought I was going to hate it.
Right.
Yep.
And Charlie's back sweetening, I think, saved the day. But even before that, it was still palatable.
And I think the
back
honey
sweetening was
addition,
delicious.
I think the honey addition on the front end helped with that too.
Yeah.
More perceived sweetness.
Got a little
Probably
bit
a
more,
slightly rounder mouthfeel to it.
yeah,
That's
got
really
some
good.
more booze out
Definitely,
of the
yeah.
still from it.
All right, should we try this one?
Yeah, dude.
Legitimately, that is smelling and tasting better, even just from when we first proofed it. I didn't taste it, but it smells better for sure. It's like honey and apple now.
In my opinion, this one just feels so well balanced. The honey notes add like a good, like very slight caramel flavors, but an absolutely wonderful aroma. It's very good. To be honest, in my opinion, the only thing that's missing is maybe some age on oak. I think that would benefit both of these incredibly.
The mouth feels real nice.
The mouthfeel's great.
Yeah.
The alcohol presence is very mellow. I think we nailed the cuts. There's fresh apple, then stewed apple, and then honey. And they all bridge together at just the right time, so they don't fight with each other. But you can taste each individual component. I really like that.
Yeah.
And I think anytime you get those stewed apple notes, at least for me, you kind of get the perception of like spice and cinnamon, even though obviously there's nothing there. But you associate that with other flavors you've had, and I don't know, it's well balanced, including those crisp apples as well.
I like the way the alcohol makes me feel.
All ass-hattery put to the side. This was legitimately a hell of a lot of fun, and both of these turned out way better than I expected.
100%.
Mission accomplished. Cheers, team.
Hey, cheers. That was awesome.